So it was my turn again this week. It's been a long time coming. A lot of bullshit, you know.
A lot of shitty movies in between.
Yeah. None of your movies matter except for mine. Even though I picked probably the weirdest fucking thing we've ever watched.
This is really John's channel.
Yeah. So my choice for this episode, kind of what I wanted to go for was something that none of us have ever seen before. Everyone goes in fully dry. No, yeah, fully dry, fully raw and dry.
Raw, baby.
Yeah,
dry as fuck.
So dry. But then, yeah, no lube. And so the movie that we did that with was Possession, 1981. Directed by Andrzej Zulawski, I believe is how you pronounce it. It's a Polish name, but I'm butchering. And,
probably pronounced nothing like that, honestly.
Yeah. And I mean, like this whole podcast, we are gonna try to figure out what this movie was about. I have some ideas, but the general kind of, you know, premise is a young couple and their son going through a pretty tough time in their family relationship. Something. On the certain, you would think that it'd be like, oh, you know,
events happen in this movie.
Yeah, I love how hard it is just to describe the movie itself. Like,
I don't even know if they really had, like, you would think it's just like, oh, you know, they're probably gonna end up getting divorced, but even
there
that
is a sex monster in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into it for sure. Quite literally get into it. But yeah, it's.
What do you mean by that?
What do you mean by that?
What do you mean by that?
But yeah, this is I mean, like probably like the closest comparison I could make to something that we've watched so far like this is Annihilation. You know, Pete back.
That was what I thought too.
However
like,
many weeks
comparison
ago,
wise.
Yeah, but like in comparison, like, you know, we argued quite a bit about what we thought that movie was actually about, and in reality, that movie is probably a lot more transparent in its messaging than this movie. However, though, for as strange and kind of just like, I don't want to say, like, I guess surreal is kind of a way to describe it. I think I overall enjoyed this movie. It was definitely a very non-conventional way to tell this kind of story that it's attempting to, which to me is a relationship falling apart and the impact that has on not just yourself, you know, like the impact of a broken marriage on the other people around you as well. And also, like, stemming from that parallels into a more kind of a socio-political setting as well, because, like, as you noticed throughout watching the movie, this movie is set in Berlin, still under, like, Soviet occupation. So there's, you know, parallels
every once in a while that comes up.
Yeah.
I was going to ask that at the beginning, like, this takes place in Germany, right? And I was only able to pick that up because of their accents, and then every once in a while, like, something in the background looked like it was in Germany.
On some GeoGuessr shit, I saw the street sign. I was like, oh, this is in Germany.
Because of Heinrich. And we'll get into
that
Heinrich.
too gives it away.
Yeah. So...
Right. So, John, from
Channing Tatum,
Monster in the Corner to Monster in the Bed, what... which one... How would you rate this movie?
They're both so sexy. I don't know.
This is a hide underwater in the bathtub type movie.
I think this might be the fully formed Mark at the very end.
Lizard dude.
The tentacle lizard dude that came out of
the
nowhere.
fully formed one where he's like
in that house.
He's wearing the suit.
Literally me.
Yeah,
like,
he's literally me. Yeah.
So yeah, that also came out of nowhere.
Well,
he just shows up standing behind her.
I have an idea of what that is, but I'll open up the floor to you guys. Whoever wants to get
I'll
into
go
it.
next because I have some opinions on this one. I figure
Sure.
I'll get mine out of the way. Like I'm gonna be real. Like I think this movie is very fun to talk about but if I was really like thinking about it and like would I tell somebody to watch this movie? Not a shot. Like, I'm not telling any human being to watch this unless they're really in.
No human being should watch this movie.
No human being, unless they like want to like, unless they're just like want to do something really weird. I wouldn't be like, yeah, just watch this movie. Like Annihilation, like you compared it to Annihilation. Like at least there's parts of Annihilation that are like, besides the complex story, that are really interesting and like just to look at. And there's a little bit of that in this, but like most of this movie, there was multiple times where I was like, what the fuck is going on? So it like there's a lot of over the top acting and like I don't want to just shit on it. Like so there's like the actors commit to it. Like I'm not gonna put shit on the actors. Like they try as hard as they can and they do well with what they get. But there's definitely like a lot of like I don't know what is happening throughout the movie, like the tonal changes and just weird shifts. Like I mean it's older, so like talking about the cinematography of it is a little weird. I'm not like an expert on that, but there's definitely like times where I'm like, is like this supposed to be like the same time or was there a time jump or something? And I wasn't sure, but if I just look at it objectively as a movie, I can't really rate it above like a 4. Like I just didn't. I didn't enjoy it. Like I wouldn't suggest it to another person. So like I think it will be really interesting to talk about today, but I didn't like it. That's the only thing I could say. Like by the end, I was like, thank God it's over.
This is a scare. This is a scare the hose kind of movie.
Like I like if I'm trying to put it on a scale like of like if I would sit down in a movie theater and watch this, no way. If I spent $20 on this, I'd be pissed. I would be pissed. I spent $20 on this movie. Yeah, I knew Chris would be like, I liked it. I'd be so mad. I'd be so mad.
I didn't love the movie.
Let's let Chris go next.
Yeah,
I didn't think it was like
anybody
the
could
greatest.
go ahead. I would be pissed.
I didn't think it was like the greatest movie ever. And could I accurately describe the events that happen in this movie? Probably not. But all I know is at the end of the movie, I felt, or like the entire time watching the movie, I felt very uncomfortable. And because I can't use the facts, like I can't describe exactly the events or describe what I love about the movie. I can only go back to the emotions that I felt while watching it. And the only thing that comes to mind is how uncomfortable this movie made me, but in like a good way. It's just so fucking weird
I would like to say,
and disturbing. And good.
I just have some comparisons to that later. Like I'm not just trying to shit on it. Like, but like I do have things for that to say later. I just don't. Have that kind of time here. Sorry, Chris. Go ahead.
Nah, but just to finish what I was saying is like, it's just so weird and disturbing that I feel like you can't like absolutely hate this movie because it does what it like what it sets out to do, and that is just to make you feel a little bit uncomfortable. But yeah, 7 out of 10.
7. Damn. All right, I'll go ahead. We'll give this movie a 3.5.
You, Sam.
Wow.
What is happening?
I think I align with Nate a little bit to where I think that the acting and the cinematography were actually pretty well. I liked how like claustrophobic a lot of the shots were, especially in the apartments. Like, I felt uncomfortable as like I wanted the camera to back up. I think a lot of horror movies, I'm not an expert, like I think a lot of them do that to hide a jump scare. So, like you don't see anything that's out of the frame so that they could jump out at you. But this movie just kind of like lets it sit there.
That's what
it just makes you feel more and more uncomfortable, even though like nothing's coming, and it actually lets like the scary shit be scary. But trying to follow along this movie, like what takes place when, at what time of day, and who's involved, it was just like too taxing to figure that out. And I like tried to follow along because I thought maybe like it would all come together at the end.
People just show up sometimes.
It was just like
new people come in. Yeah,
they just walk in the frame. It's like this guy.
I didn't get it. Like it was tough for me to like. It was like a tough movie to watch, and I couldn't like find myself sitting back and like taking it in first and then being like, oh, I'm gonna go back and rewatch and I'll understand it now. Like I think I'd be just as confused on the rewatch, and not even confused about like themes or anything. Like just straight up confused about what is going on. It's just too taxing. I'm not like super huge fan of horror in general, so like that's just my personal preference. I probably will not watch this movie again.
Yeah,
I do think I will give it to the actors, especially the leading Anna. She does like really, really well for some of the things. Like I imagine she had like very little direction and was just like
I'd say both of the main
fucking conniption.
Both of them like go way above and beyond in their roles for sure.
Yeah. 3.5.
All right, Cole, finish us off.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna focus on the positives first, really quick, because it's been pretty negative. But first of all, John, I'm glad you picked this movie. It was really a unique watch. I think it was a fun
and
watch.
I think it'll be fun to talk about.
Cole's about to shit all over it.
Yeah,
he has two positives.
Set him up, Cole.
No, I listed everything I liked. I like.
How long is it? How long is the list?
5-paragraph essay.
You'll see. I liked the music. I thought
the music was great.
Fit really well. Again, I thought the acting was really cool, and I thought they with the phrases and just how everything was put together. I thought the movie was kind of made to be thought-provoking. But outside of that, I did not like anything else.
I was right too.
I think the entire time I just could not. I felt like I was missing something. I felt like I wasn't in on it, and I could not figure out what the director was trying to tell me or trying to get me to grasp. And I was really hoping at the end it would all just click and I would just get it. I'd be like, oh, that's why this happened, but that moment just never happened, and then the credits came. So, but yeah, I mean, it was fun. It was a fun watch, but yeah, it's probably a 3 for me.
That's fucked up. You guys just kept trying to go lower and lower.
I had 3.5 set because I was gonna give it a 4, and I was like I would enjoy a 5 a lot.
I was debating a 5, yeah, but I was like, that's like average. Like, and I kind of put this just below average.
But I will say, in response to what Nate said earlier, I think I would tell somebody to watch this if I thought it would be funny to talk about it later.
if you were fucking with them,
dude. I think that's a good point because there are some parts, and I guess we can just
start getting into it. Watch those parts. That's a problem I have with
the thing is they just kind of come out of nowhere because there are parts that are so intense, but then there are parts where when he first meets Heinrich.
Talk about scenes coming out of nowhere.
He first meets Heinrich and tries to fight him, but then Heinrich pulls out he pulls out karate moves and starts beating his ass.
It's
he pulls out some Steven Seagal,
it don't even it didn't even make sense, but it was funny. I honestly, once Heinrich died, the movie got way worse because at least there was this funny element, and it seemed like the movie knew it was kind of funny by that point. And that's the thing, why I said by the end, I was I'm happy it's over. It seemed especially by the end, he was just rushing through shit. Oh yeah, look at this. Isn't this disturbing? Look at this. What do you think about this? I'm I don't care.
It started to
oh my god, the kid's drowning. I don't care anymore. What does that even mean? I have to think about it now?
I thought that was a good scene to end the movie, actually.
No, it's not. I don't think it is.
The kid is just so fucking devastated by
he drowned.
He drowned
Bob, honestly.
It was brought up. Why is his name Bob? We're in
why is his name
Bob? What's wrong with Bob?
There's Heinrich, and then there's Anna, and then there's
2% of our viewers are named Bob. Nate.
His dad is Mark.
Yeah, Mark's English.
Fuck Mark. I don't care either. I forgot his name throughout the movie because it was so unimportant. That's by the end, especially, and then I said, it's he's completed, and then I literally said, who the fuck is this guy? And I was wait a second, that's Mark. And then I was so fucking confused. I didn't even care anymore. I was thank God this is over.
Right, so
I don't even know what's going on.
I guess that leads into we can kind of get into what what I thought this movie was about. So
play it honest.
Hit me.
So the whole thing with that version of Mark showing up at the very end, and then he goes to visit what's her name? Helen, like the teacher that looks exactly like Anna.
His wife, yeah. Is it the same actress? That's something I wanted
It's
to
the same
look up.
actress.
Really
It's not.
Okay.
It's not.
It's not.
No, it is definitely not, dude. Compare their faces.
No, let me
look
say
the
something a
same.
little crazy. Compare their nipples. They had the same nipples. That was
They're just skinny
They had
and pale.
They had really big nipples with
Nipple
little
scientist.
Yeah, I'm telling you,
Yeah.
dude, it was the same actor. There's no
No,
way
he's
it was
studying
not.
their nipples.
There's
He
no
knows
way.
they're.
To be
He
honest,
knows they're two
Teacher's
different
eyes
actors.
were really, really big. Like her
Listen.
face was
It is-
bigger on her head.
It is the
This did
same
come-
person.
This
See, there
did
we
come
go.
out in the
Back
80s.
to-
I was gonna say it's possible that they were like, "Let me see your nipples" before they were like picking actresses, but
Nate-
it's the same person.
Nate's like that like
I'm
that,
the nipperologist.
Faces look different.
that like teenager that like pretended to be a gynecologist. Like you're like a breast
I've been
cancer
studying.
doctor.
Yeah, he's the nippy professor or whatever.
Dude, because it was so like even then like so there was like a lot of gross scenes. Like I'm not gonna say nipples are gross, but there was just so many random shots where like their nipples were just out, and I was like, wow, they didn't show nudity like any other part of the movie. Like, why did they include this?
They almost showed the guy's dick. I was
I was
curious
so
as if they were
disappointed.
gonna
A
do that.
little bit. They
I
did
was
a little
so
bit. You saw the-
disappointed.
I feel
I
like
missed
their
it.
sex
Yeah.
life was important to the story, though.
Yeah.
But you didn't. Okay, like the movie began with like a shot on just their chests, and then like it's just weird. It's like now you're gonna show her nipples. Like why
Well-
later? Like you could have just did that the whole movie. Like I
uh,
think they just wanted to show off.
I wasn't looking out for when they were showing
What's these
nipples
little
and when they
nips?
weren't.
I think that
Like,
was just so you thought it was the same. How could you miss it? It was just right in your face. Like
No,
how could you not?
I
see
think
it?
that was a ploy to get people to stick around during the movie because they thought
It
they might
probably
see some
was.
boobage. But because like it's very confusing at the start.
Well, now that
like
we've
until
made-
people started getting murdered, I was like, "What is
John,
this movie?
what is this
What
movie?
going
Now that
on?"
we-
yeah, let's hear the theory.
John.
Now that we've
We got caught off
we've
guard.
made the nipple distinction, we've clarified that. Our resident nipple expert got us
Nate
covered.
got it.
So, she appears like earlier on in the movie, and like we see like pretty like early on that like Mark is kind of interested in her, and like what I insinuate the whole thing with Anna, creating like this monster, like assimilations of a bunch of different men that she's killed progressively throughout the movie. I kind of saw it as each of them being ultimately becoming dissatisfied with each other in their marriage because of the different like problems that each of them has. Like, like Mark is like distant because of work, but also we see that he's like kind of
What is his job,
I think a spy,
by the way?
like an international kind of spy or something. I think that contributes.
I thought
to
he was in the military. Sorry, I know this is
Dude.
like off the wall, but like I was super curious about that the whole movie. Like
I have no idea what he does.
they were like, yeah, he saw
I just
walruses.
accepted I wasn't going to get an answer. If he was an international spy, he's like the coolest guy ever. What the fuck is Anna thinking?
Well, the thing is,
he's
like-
the coolest guy on earth.
he's
Bro,
like,
she liked him though. Is that thing?
yeah, but like
What?
we
No,
see
she
that
didn't.
He's
She's-
like,
Fucking Heinrich. Heinrich is a big cornball, dude.
Hein-
He lived
no.
with his mom.
oh no,
Heinrich,
no, Heinrich was
the first man to grab her pussy. That's all I'm
Heinrich was
saying.
way-
He did that twice in this movie.
Sam
Oh,
Heinrich. No, Heinrich was way cooler than Mark. Come
No,
on.
no, he
way-
He
was
wasn't.
not.
I wouldn't
He
call him.
pulled up
cool.
on
was way
he
cool.
I
pulled
wouldn't
up on
call
a
him cool.
motorcycle. Come on.
I wouldn't call him
Some
cool.
goddamn hippie dude who just owns a motorcycle and thinks he's all
body
that.
movements when he was
I wouldn't
talking.
even.
Yeah, and he
No, when he was like,
He
was like,
bodied
"Hey, see, that's
Mark."
me.
He was like
See, that's
bouncing
me."
up all around,
I'd
like,
have been like,
grabbing on his chest.
I'm gonna be honest, guys. Like Mark is kind of a dick throughout the movie. I would have been a lot more of a dick
Well,
in a
that's-
lot of those
Shit.
That's the
situations.
thing. That's the thing.
I would have been a lot
I was
more of a
getting
dick.
into is that like Mark.
Don't say Mark is shit when Anna
Mark's-
was murdering people.
Well,
No, they're
well,
both shit. They're
that-
both
that's-
shit.
by the
They're
end,
both awful
yeah.
people.
I was getting
By
into
the
that.
end,
I was
yeah.
getting into that. Is that Mark is like when you see that he's like kind of a piece of shit. Like he's really like manipulative towards Anna. He like beats her and all that, but then like comes back around. It's like I need you in my life. I don't want anyone else except for you. But then like by the flip of a switch, he's like, you fucking bitch. Like just dude, he slaps the crap out of her. Just like, and then.
Hey, she hit him first.
She did hit him first. But then
Then he hit her about 5 more times.
but she also like stabbed him with like a electric
Did she stop? I thought she stopped
meat
herself.
cutter.
And then he stabbed himself, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she hit him with something though, right?
That was also a weird scene because it didn't really
slapped
hold
him.
Yeah, she slapped him, and he was like, "Do it again." And then
she slapped him very limp
Why
wristed.
did he say that? Why was he like, do it again? Like, where did that come from?
that's something I wanted to say. Is there was a lot of moments in this movie where I was like, is it trying to like push the narrative? Because there's like multiple times where you're like, women are evil and this and that. I'm like, is that what it's saying? And then it's also saying men are evil. Like it's so
I think
weird.
it was
I'm
just
like,
Mark is a piece of shit. Like that's all you're supposed to get from that. Like, fuck
but
Mark.
Anna's a piece of shit. So what am I?
See,
that's
why they got
Let's let John
Anna-
get to his point.
Wait,
Let's let John
Mark-
get to his point.
Mark doesn't
John has
become
been
a
on
piece.
point for 20 minutes.
But this is important.
No, this
Mark
is
doesn't become a
important.
piece
This
of
is
shit until Anna's a piece of shit. So like it makes the movie like makes it feel like that he didn't do that because you don't see anything before that he didn't do that until she started devil worshipping, summoning fake Jesus thing. Like so it's so weird. Like it seems like it's trying to say a message like you said, but from what happens throughout the movie, the only thing you see is her being like a crazy murdering thing, and that turns him into a crazy murdering dude. It's like weird what the message is.
See, that's the
John,
thing though,
please.
is like, well, I just like before I keep going, I kind of got the impression that Mark was kind of like also like pretty bad before the events of the movie that we
Once
see.
again, though, do you forget the tape where Anna was like
they
fucking
fed off of
bullying?
each other. That's how I interpreted it.
They
But
both
but that's the thing is like they're both pieces of shit, and then
Because-
that goes back to what I said about Annihilation. Like I don't care about either of them.
The big
Like
thing
fucking-
with her is that she is
Yeah,
like
for sure.
a liar. She lies about everything. You know, like
well, she doesn't say anything. Like
Yeah.
90%. She's just like the whole
And then just
movie.
starts
Like,
screaming.
and then Mark is like, "You need to listen to me."
Excuse me, I have to make a sandwich. Just like
So
Sorry,
like,
John.
Yeah, I'm almost done. So like they both have these huge issues that have like stemmed from, being in proximity to each other. Because like, the thing is like, you fall in love at first, and then, there's the honeymoon phase where like everything is like at its best. But then especially, when you actually start living with somebody, and that's especially when you have a kid together,
Yeah.
kind of like, and this doesn't speak to everybody, but kind of like it does bring out the kind of the worst in people sometimes. And so
Oh, absolutely. That's so hard.
so now that like the absolute worst out of both of them has been brought out,
They both
they're-
become murderers.
and they are so they're both just so toxic, but they still kind of have something that they want to cling on to. They want to cling on to what they had before, like the idea of each other. And that's what I see, Helen, the teacher, as her representing what Anna used to be to him.
Yeah.
And then that's like more like literal. But then with Anna, it's like she creates this like new version of Mark that is her idealized version of him, who's like way cooler and like more mysterious and kind of fits the bill of being like a spy instead of like
You're reading into him a little too much, John.
I tried.
He shows up in the last 5 minutes.
He was
and
cool.
Doesn't really talk much.
No, but the whole movie,
Get me out of here.
like the evil demonic dude that she has stored in her apartment, her ugly ass apartment, is like a idealized version of like the perfect husband or whatever. And it turns out later that it's Mark. It's part of Mark.
the victims that I think it would have hit better if the victims kind of like made sense, because it was literally just like when someone showed up and was like, "Can you show me what's going on here? Or I'm gonna call the police." She's like, "Oh, it's you or the police, huh?" And then she just kills them. If she had like picked people out that had like different aspects, like I think that would have made a little bit more sense. But it kind of just seemed like
it was like
whatever
random
guy
killing.
wanders into my apartment is just gonna get murdered and thrown into a corner.
Dude, that guy, the private investigator, he folded so hard.
That was the worst
just
private
missed?
investigator I've
He
ever
folded
seen.
so
that
hard.
one, yeah.
Banner.
He
Wait, that's another thing is like shit in the movie just made no sense. He pulls a gun, shoots it, and then goes beat up. He
doesn't know.
He goes.
and then Anna hasn't figured out.
He
She
gets his ass beat.
Yeah, he only pulled the trigger. He's like a professional, and he's like, one shot, I'm done. But then Anna is like, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
She unloads
thought,
on
like-
him.
I want to see John do the.
Boom,
I thought she was legitimately like a demon there because I was like, there's no way he just missed her. Like he definitely hit her, but it like went through. But no, she just gets shot later in the movie. So I was like, I don't understand that.
There was so many scenes like that where I'm like, what? Who made this decision? Like where they thought that some like.
Okay, but like you guys felt disturbed while watching this movie.
Yeah, but like that doesn't matter that much. Like
you guys felt very strong about like how fucking weird and
Chris,
disturbing this movie is.
Did you feel bad for the blue people in Avatar? That's what that movie was about. And if you thought that,
then you must a 10 out of 10.
I don't know. I felt like this movie like made me feel something, and that's why it's a 7 out of 10.
I feel like every movie should make you feel something. I mean, out of any,
it's just the thing about
movies like this, the thing about movies like this is like it goes to that like idea of it's what you get out of it, and like I can't help but like see this as like. One, I feel like a lot of topics in it feel dated. Like it feels like it's from the 80s, like on the way they address it and the way they handle things. Like the relationship, like it's so weird. Like it's like topics like him being like women are evil and this and that. It's like what the fuck is he talking? Like what is this like conversation they're having? And then then the teacher's like, I think I proved you right. It's like what the fuck was that conversation that never comes up again? Like I was so fucking like having night terrors. I'm like, and then it's gone. Like it's gone from the movie. Like,
there were a lot of scenes where like it's like in the middle of a scene and then it cuts to 2 close-ups. They say a line of dialogue that is absolutely out of context for both of them, and then it cuts back to the original scene like that didn't even just happen.
This movie could have been an hour and a half. This movie easily could have been an hour. I'm gonna be honest. This was the first movie where I skipped anything. Like there was so many times where I was like, he was just like walking through the house, and that's the thing. You're like, oh, I was so disturbed. There was so many times where I was like, I get it. Like I'm waiting for something. Skip. Like I don't care. Like I'm like the scene where the girl was freaking out and like she had the miscarriage, which I don't understand how that had anything to do with the fucking movie.
That went on for too long.
It started really interesting. Yeah, it started really interesting, and then about 3 minutes in,
I thought that was like the best scene.
Watch that
scene
really
again. Like showed like just all the emotion of this fucking break.
When did it happen? When did it even happen, Chris? Can you tell me?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
I was like, what is going on? Skip. And then I skipped to the end, and I was like,
I couldn't like explain to you what happened in this movie whatsoever.
But there was one scene that was so like out of left field, and I was waiting the whole time for it to come back, and it was like he was in that hospital, he was all disgusting, the room was gross, and he was like having a seizure on the bed.
Yeah.
And then he's like, how long have I been in here? And I think she said like 15 days or something.
No, 3 weeks.
3 weeks. And then it just cuts to something else and never talks about it again.
It feels like the first 30 minutes of this movie were like a different movie, and then they made a different movie in the second half. Because I guess we'll talk about this now, because I wanted to talk about that. What the fuck was the scene where he walks in the room, puts the cover over the like the best friend of like the Anna, and then it cuts immediately to him walking in the room again, and then them hugging. What the fuck was that scene? Like, why was that cut? Cut that. Just get it out of the movie. It didn't do anything. Like, what the like? Even in the 80s, like you had editors. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
that girl was the worst best friend ever too. She immediately tells him that her friend is cheating on him.
Well, I think it was meant to show that he wanted him.
At.
She wanted him. I think that was like the point.
Yeah,
But then also remember when he's like, I'm going to get Anna, and then she just goes. It just throws herself back. Like I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Oh, that was weird.
This whole movie is weird. I mean, like I said, it's fun to talk about, but what the fuck was going on?
It feels like a fever dream. Like just events happen out of order.
But I enjoy that. I enjoy that this movie feels like a fever dream.
I feel like
when I'm watching a horror movie, I like that aspect of it.
I feel like it's not agree with that? But I wasn't horrified at all, other than
for me.
The body horror whenever they had the things in it, like the monsters.
Monster
that was interesting. That was really good.
The effects were really good.
Can I transition to something else so we could talk about something else, I guess, for a little bit? And this is something only really I'll have a topic about, because I don't think you guys have watched Hellraiser here.
No.
Have you guys? There is clearly
that's the one with the needle guy, right?
Yeah, that's Pinhead. There is, and if you've never watched the original, Pinhead's only in like the last like 20 minutes of that movie. But the original Hellraiser is literally this movie. but like less fucking insane. I mean, it's insane, but like it's more of a congruent story. Like you could just follow it through on what's happening. A woman takes guys to the attic, kills them, and it forms her ex-boyfriend again. And then somehow, and I forget in that story, they end up summoning Pinhead. It all has to do with each other. I forget, but it's literally the same story. So that
you've
this
inspired
movie
that.
clearly, yeah, no, and I actually think like specifically the body horror is very similar. Like in Hellraiser, I doubt we'd ever get around to watching. I mean, maybe eventually, but they do
Keep it on
this
your
thing
list.
where when his body is forming, so they just recorded they made like a fake muscles and tissue and stuff like that, and they melted it. And so they just played it in reverse for like it forming again, and it
that's
creates
cool.
it creates this really cool image of a body reforming, and that it's clear that they got inspiration for this for that.
Do you mean like
It came out
up
about
a little
5 years later, I think.
you
I
mean
think
like
about 5 years
Hellraiser
later.
was inspired by this movie? You think?
Yeah, there's a lot of
yeah.
horror because I mean, even look at The Thing. Like, look at
Yeah.
the.
Oh,
mean,
yes.
everybody here. I mean, not everybody.
Did
but
the Thing come out before this movie?
I think after
no, because The Thing was 80 something, right? I can look it up.
Yeah.
This was
I don't think it was
81.
70s.
81.
It was 81 and it got banned. I looked it up. It got
Oh,
banned
yeah.
in England.
Really?
I could believe
and
that.
it re-released in 1983.
Let me look up the
of
thing.
of
82. The Thing was 82. So
Okay.
There we go.
I thought it was like 85, but I was.
I looked
wrong on that one.
up. This movie, I guess, is like considered a cult classic. But horror is so like
I could see
foreign
that.
to me that like I guess it has a pretty big cult following, and it probably is in large part due to the fact that it was banned. It was
I'm
like
sure.
very, very limited release in
For
England.
what reason? Do you
There's
think?
good parts.
I was looking up for that.
Probably
I
the
guess
sex scene.
I guess there was like a big movement in the 80s in England specifically against like all this like graphic and especially like graphic sex scenes.
Okay.
I guess a bunch of movies got banned and there's like a list of them that people like, put into movie lists as like watch parties or whatever. But I looked up because it on Shudder. It looked. I watched this on Shudder, and it
That's
said it
what
was in
I did.
1983.
That's what I did.
And I was like, "Fuck, is this going to be the wrong
81.
movie?" And I looked it up, and it was re-released in 1983.
Okay.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's So that's what prompted me to look it up, and it said it was banned.
Huh.
So can I bring up the best scene at the first 30 minutes? It was actually like the first 5 minutes. Whenever they're in the room and like the mom is like not talking to the kid, and for some reason they keep going. I get like in the end the kid is in the bath, but like why are they focused on a kid in a bath so much? I'll never know. But
They want to show like how the kid is reacting to the parents. Like,
so they had to put him in a bathtub.
I mean, like those are
Maybe this
kill
is just
themselves
all the
or
kids'
whatever.
fever dream.
But what I was gonna
About that.
say is I don't know if you remember right in like the first 5 minutes, he goes, "Come admire your son." And then you hear is the son in the bath kept going, "Neener, neener, 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 neener." It's so funny. I'm like, what the fuck is going? That was like
My favorite scene is another kid scene, and it's literally like half a second long, where the kids are playing in the background, and he drops him off to talk to the teacher, and the kid like runs like
I'm the
into
king
the
of this.
background. The guy goes, "I'm the big boss," and this other kid goes, "No, you're not. You're the little boss." And that made me laugh so hard because it's just complete. Like it was definitely those kids just fucking around on set. Like they didn't write that.
yeah,
like
they just put
definitely
it in.
they're just like go play in the background.
If you paid attention, I don't remember what part. Oh, it was right after he beat the shit out of fucking Anna, and then it's just random cut where it goes, "Yeah!" and I was literally like, wait, what the fuck? Because I think that's like stock sound effect that they use in Halo. I don't know if any of you guys have ever played Halo.
Oh, like when you get like
when you headshot the grunts and it goes,
Yeah.
"Yay!" It's like the exact same sound effect, and it's so random. Like he just beats the once again, like I said, this weird like tone that this movie has. He beats the shit out of his wife, and then the scene transition is like, what the fuck just happened? Like I was so confused.
It is
I'm
weird
sure that's
for-
not the implication, but when you fucking do that, like that's what it seems like.
But for how gory and like violent this movie is, they just get in like a slap fight. Like he like open hand limp wrist slaps her like the whole time, and she's just
I mean, he
completely
fucks her up a
battered.
little bit. She was gushing blood. I would give it that. It was realistic she was gushing blood. Then she tried to get hit by the car. I'm gonna be
That
honest,
was-
like
yeah.
I mean, if I'm gonna be real, if she got hit by the car, like things turn out a lot better in this movie. Like,
Yeah.
like a lot of
I was
people live-
thinking, if this movie takes place in the States, literally 10 minutes into the movie, he finds out that she was fucking some other guy for an entire year, and she doesn't feel bad. It's like, I'm just gonna go kill both of them, and then I'm gonna go to jail. This movie's gonna be over in 25 minutes.
I'm just gonna go shoot them both.
So I was like, oh, that's probably what's gonna happen.
He kind of did try to do that. Remember, he confronted Heinrich, and that's when he pulled out the dance.
Yeah.
Heinrich
and walked around his apartment all like toddler stompy and like upset.
What was his goal there? Like, what was the end goal?
He was confronting him.
He was confronting him.
But like, what does that do?
He was emasculated. I feel that's one thing I feel like I got the point was he was emarculated. He was trying to confront him, but Heinrich didn't let him have that moment.
I get that, but like, what is the point for him for Mark though? Like, you don't get anything.
I would think one point that I did get, because like the first 30 minutes, I didn't think this movie was bad, and I was like, oh yeah, I kind of get where this is going, and then it went off the rails.
You think this movie is bad right now?
Yeah, because I gave it a 4 out of fucking 10. Yeah, I don't think it's that good.
So but 4 out of 10 for Nate is bad. Okay.
Yeah, because it's below average.
No, but, I got you. Just.
What was I fucking? Chris, you fucked me up. What was I saying?
4 out of 10 is awful.
Chris is just making me repeat myself, and I forgot what I was talking about.
Because we were talking about Heinrich, like when Mark went to confront Heinrich.
Oh, Heinrich was the guy that cheated, right? Heinrich was the guy that cheated,
right? He's the affair.
I was literally thinking,
so Anna fucked him.
Yeah,
just kill him. Yeah, I was like, Mark, what are you doing? What are you gonna go?
I'm making fun of Chris, but oh man, what was I had like a whole through line that Chris made me forget because he had to be a dickhead.
I wasn't being a dickhead.
I couldn't. Okay,
I had something else that kind of was bothering me because they have that conversation in the beginning where they're topless or whatever. And
so weird.
They're basically saying like we don't love each other. Like they both kind of agree like they don't love each other.
Before was that what he was saying in that scene? That's what I couldn't get.
I think he was just gone for a while with work.
Yeah, but it sounded like because they were talking about whether they cheated, and she lied and said she didn't, and then immediately the next scene was like, "Yeah, I cheated." So I was like, "What the fuck?"
Well, yeah, but the thing is I didn't get why Mark cared so much and why he tried so hard to get her back because he did not love her or care about her anymore. Like we've established.
I don't think it was that he didn't love her, but I think the point earlier on, that's what I was gonna say that Chris made me fucking forget, was that he just for some reason won't let go. Like he wants that control.
Yeah, he wants.
I think the end of a relationship is naturally confusing. It's hard to let go of that person.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck about all that. I'm just saying like he should have like literally like at that point you should just be like
this movie is supposed to make you like feel something. Like that's the whole point of the movie.
I mean if you just read into too much to it, I'm sure it's crazy.
If we're looking at it a bit more matter of fact,
if you ignore half the movie, I'm sure.
Like I had kind of gotten
about
into earlier.
Divorce.
Like he's trying to hold on to like what they used to have, and we might not know what that was. We see kind of like inklings of it here and there.
The only thing we see is her bullying ballet students. That's like the only thing of the past you see, and I was like, well, she's even more of a
weird point.
She was
also a weird point in the timeline that it's like tough to backfill it.
But also like it stems from like the kind of recurring thing about Mark is just kind of like how manipulative he is, like how manipulative he came across, and like again like even if she like doesn't actually love him anymore, even though she did at some point, like he's not gonna let her go that easily,
I think we're giving Mark too hard of a rap here. I'm gonna be honest. He's manipulative, but she was cutting people up and feeding them to demons and killing people and trying to kill herself and like not caring about the son. What she did was way worse. Mark was just a douchebag.
I think they love each other. Even at the end of the movie,
they did love each other. Yeah,
I don't give a fuck if they loved each other. Like, look, that's the thing. Sometimes, like, I get that.
Dude, I don't even know that they loved each other. I think they had an idea of each other and they loved that.
And I think that's bullshit too. Yeah, because I mean, if you watch the fucking movie, like I'm sure if you just ignore everything and like think about it whatever way you want, you could come up with whatever you want. But if you watch the fucking movie, like they're terrible to each other. Like they're fucking terrible to each other.
But then they come back around.
You can be terrible to someone that you love.
Nah, see, that's the thing is I think you can say things and not really feel that. Like people often do that in real life. Like you say like, No, that's not how it
If
works.
you love
Often,
someone and you're a piece of shit
if you
to them,
truly
you
love
still love
someone,
them.
you wouldn't. No, see, that's where you're wrong. If you truly
Yeah.
love someone, you would
agree with
make a
Nate.
difference and you would change. And
Oh,
you could
sure.
make mistakes, but you would change. And that's so different. And if that's the thing that movie is
See, that's the
pushing
thing.
across, then I think it's bad. I think it's a bad. I think it's a toxic trait to push in your movie. And that's the thing. I feel like
I don't think it's necessarily.
They're not painting that as good.
It's not. Yeah,
think
they're not.
people are
They're not.
I don't think so
condoning that.
either. But
Yeah.
I was just saying from the way Chris was talking about. Sorry, go
people
ahead.
are
John.
shit, but they can still love each other despite being pieces of shit.
Well,
You
No,
can
I don't,
make-
I think so.
See,
You can make
I also
mistakes. I
don't
do
really
believe
think
that. I do believe you can.
I
Make
don't think that's what
mistakes.
this movie's trying to say. Like, it's pointing out like the kind of like lack of introspection from like either of them. Because like
Right.
again, they're so toxic towards each other.
Yeah.
They project all of the faults that they see onto each
They
other.
both need to be better.
Yeah.
What
I
is
think
her
one
name?
thing-
What's the
Anna.
wife's name?
I think one thing
I
that's
think she's
important.
introspective.
in-
I think
no.
she like understands
No.
how
Towards
shit
the
of a
end,
person
she kinda does.
is.
During that
No,
movie,
I would disagree
when
because
when he watches the movie, yeah, there is a little bit of like introspection from her because I think that's mostly stemming from.
Well, I think an important thing is, Chris, you love BoJack Horseman. Is like introspective doesn't really mean anything if you don't
True.
do anything.
True.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
So she has introspective. Like she's like, man, I have no choice,
I
but
think
I
they still
also
love
have
each other.
faith. That doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
she's not a good person.
It doesn't matter at the end of the day.
Yeah, they're
You-
shit. Yeah, I agree. It doesn't matter, but like I still
I
feel
think
like it's
But
true.
that's the thing. That's completely material. If you say you love someone and you don't do anything, or
Yeah,
you
fair
treat
enough.
them like
I
shit, then
agree
don't
with
love
you.
them.
But it
I
doesn't mean
think,
you don't love. Doesn't mean you don't love them.
I think they thought they loved each other, but they
Yeah, you do
didn't.
disagree with me. Yeah,
So,
yeah, I
they-
agree with
they had,
Cole.
I think
I
John
think
Cole
it was
and I are
more
kind of in agreement.
material. It was more material.
They have this idea of the other person that's completely fabricated in their own head,
Yeah.
and they love that, and they confuse it for the other person. 'Cause Anna
that's the dude at the
seems to
end,
be
yeah.
all like physical. That's the only thing she cares about, and she thinks that's what love is. And Mark is kind of like, I just want this
She should
perfect
take
family.
care of her kid and do
that,
this
like,
and do
yeah,
that.
he's like,
and
we
not have
should-
any fun.
Sticking a family is more important than everything, and I love this family, where there really wasn't a family to begin with, because he was always away, and she was murdering people and cheating on him. But
She was chopping up people.
They don't do a good job of making her seem like a good guy. I'm gonna be honest. They really do a good job of making you not like Anna throughout the movie.
I didn't like
becomes
either
I
of
don't
as
like
bad as
either
her.
of
Yeah, you're not supposed to
I-
like
yeah,
anybody. I don't
I
think.
hate both.
Yeah,
of them.
but that's what I'm saying. Is like for the first half of the movie,
You could
like,
have a movie that you dislike, all the
and
main
the movie
characters,
does say that,
and that
but I'm
doesn't make the
saying-
movie a bad movie.
I mean, it could, it can, and I think this
In
movie
your
fails at
perspective,
it.
I think if you don't like any of the characters, I think you automatically dislike the movie.
You're not getting the difference between
Right?
disliking and not like they don't feel real and they don't have any like their emotions don't feel real and it feels like they make asinine decisions, and I can agree with asinine decisions if it like I don't know the best word for it, if it fits their character or serves the plot, but sometimes they just make decisions like it
none of
just
the
doesn't-
characters are really relatable in any way.
If
and
there's
yeah,
not a
relatable is the wrong
relatable or
word.
likable character in a movie, does that mean it's a bad movie? to
See,
you guys?
Yeah,
you
kind
just
of.
take the simplest
Yes,
way to
so
look
same
at it.
thing,
You
yeah.
take the simplest way to look at it to turn it against me. Like that's so weird. Like that's so like debate
I'm not
bro way
trying
of
to.
arguing it.
The thing
But that's
is-
what you just did. You took if there's no relatable or likable. I didn't say that.
I'm legitimately asking you the question. If
I-
a movie
I-
doesn't have likable characters, can you still
I
like
think
that
I
movie?
don't have to agree with them, but it should be at least understandable. Like I
That-
should be able to sympathize.
That's
with
what I
them.
was gonna say. Yeah.
Yeah, I should be able to sympathize. I
Not
don't. I don't.
sympathize,
I don't
but
like any of the
understand.
characters in this movie, but I still like the movie.
I
don't know,
couldn't see myself making any of the mistakes that the characters make.
Oh,
Like, even in
sure.
any
Well, see, now,
circumstance. So
like-
it doesn't. They don't seem real.
They don't
to
feel
me.
real.
I
They,
agree, Sam.
they feel like
And that's maybe
fictional.
I think
I think that's just a preference because I like character driven movies, and this movie is like on the sliding scale of like character to plot. This is just completely like out the other way, where it's like completely about a theme and like not about the characters at all.
But
That's the way I see it.
When the fuck did the sex monster show up? Because it's in the bathroom when the first guy she kills shows up. So where did it come from? And where did she get this apartment?
I think the monster showed up because she cheated on her husband and she felt like shit, and then boom, monster shows up. Boom, rest of the movie. That's my opinion.
So, oh, go ahead, cool.
But who? What?
It's
what,
a manifestation of her
No,
guilt.
see,
or
let me
whatever the fuck
be for real. What I think
artistic
it was
decision
actually,
is.
I think
It's a-
actually it was her fucking what's it called? Her miscarriage. It was her miscarriage. That's what I think it was. I think that's what it was implying. But you
I don't
couldn't
think she
fucking.
actually had a miscarriage.
See, that's the thing. I didn't know how to really make. I didn't really.
I mean,
know
she is a
how to-
lion, bitch. Like, who knows if any of the movie happened? Like, the movie was so fucking insane. Maybe they just this whole movie could have just been them drowning their kid because that's how it ended. Like, who knows? Like, what the fuck? Like,
The miscarriage.
Were you gonna say
scene-
something?
and who the fuck was the Soviet guy that showed up at the end and was like, "Hey, Mark, what about this drowned dog?" And then they had like this real philosophical talk about three-fourths, not even three-fourths,
Yeah,
about
yeah.
7/8 of the way
Yeah.
through the movie. They're like, "Yeah, the drowned."
I gave
dog,
this
the
a
drowned
7 out
dog."
of 10. I didn't give it a 10. Like, come on.
I think
Yes.
if you gave it like a 5 or a 6, I might have been like, that makes sense. But you gave it a 7, bro. That's like up there with Avatar.
I
That
enjoyed
thing,
it.
like-
Chris is winning me over.
This
I'm
is
gonna have to
equal-
push mine
This
up.
is equal tier to Avatar. While Avatar has a coherent story
No.
that I can follow and be entertained
It
by,
has to
this
be at least
movie
just below Avatar.
is
I
fucking
don't want to
scary.
watch
This
either of
movie
those
is
movies
scary.
ever
So wait,
again.
This movie is scary. 7 out of 10.
It's not
Boom.
scary. That's actually one of my big problems with
It's
the movie.
disturbing.
What do you mean by disturbing? Like disturbing or weird? Like there's a
Disturbed
difference between
my
the two.
evening.
Both.
It disturbed me at
Ruined
certain
my
points.
evening.
The points that disturbed me was
Wasted
like
2 hours of my life.
when there was gross, like the gross, like humanoid monster showed up. I was like, wow, that's disturbing and weird. And like there was
Right,
some,
but it's just because. But I felt like the tone from the very start was
but, like,
fucking.
like the scene where
Eerie.
the scene where the guy was like
Eerie.
shaking his chair. It wasn't like, oh,
That was a
I'm
great
so
scene, actually.
I'm like, it looked good, but like if you're talking about scary, it wasn't scary. Like it
It
wasn't
was disturbing.
It wasn't
Disturbing is the
disturbing.
right word.
It wasn't. It was
I felt
off-putting.
disturbed from start to finish.
It was weird.
and that's why I gave it.
It was weird. I don't like. I feel like you definitely put too much emphasis on it being off. Like you could just do whatever in a movie then. Like and
I don't
who
know if
cares?
I've ever felt this disturbed by a movie before in my life.
The impact of those scenes would be better if there was more of a payoff. But because the movie is so incoherent, like those long stretches of the film where it's like unsettling, builds a certain type of tension, and then like nothing really, like someone just enters the room out of nowhere and it just like breaks it. You're expecting
I
like
think-
almost like a payoff, and it
Also-
just kind of like kicks the feet out underneath of it.
The scene where Heinrich mom just kills herself, like, could have just been cut from the movie. Like, once again, like, why did that matter in the end? Like, she gave like this speech, but like, I don't even feel like it really defined anything. They didn't change decisions based off of it. He didn't try to change anything off of it. Like, he just listened to her and then did exactly what he was going to do anyway. So like, what the fuck? What was the point of it? Like, you just could have left her alive, and I wouldn't have questioned it because the rest of the movie was so insane. Like, I wouldn't even have cared. I'm not gonna question it because the rest of the movie is so unquestionable. Because if you question it, you're gonna be like, "What the fuck is going on?" Like the detective just sprinting after her, and then she's not, and then her sprinting away, and it's like, "What am I watching? Like, what the fuck is going on?" Right?
I was gonna say, to change gears to something more goofy. That PI is awful at following people because she knew he was there the whole time, and then he knocks on the door like, "I work for the apartment management company for the windows." It's like, she just saw you follow her like across the city.
She did try and save him and say, "Don't come in here." She did. She did.
Yeah,
Why
that's
though?
true. That's true.
Why though?
Because he was
Why
gonna
did she-
die.
But why?
Because-
why did he have to die? Why
No,
did she
because
care?
she
He
doesn't-
killed everyone that saw it.
She doesn't want anyone to see it. Yeah.
Why? Like, why does she care? Because clearly by the end she wanted to do it. So it's
She's
like,
guilty.
what was
She
her-
doesn't feel
it's
remorse
her
for the
guilt.
killing.
It's her guilt.
He gets like almost lustful after
And
him.
then she fucks it afterwards. So it's like, what the fuck? Like, like, what was her motivation? Like, did she want to? That's the thing. Like, he was the worst PI ever, and that felt intentional. So did she want to kill him? And she was playing innocent until that point? Like, that scene is
I
so
will say-
asininely weird. And like, once again, it's like the 80s, and who knows the budget on this film? So maybe they just had to do what they
She
could.
get
Like,
insanely
what the fuck?
lucky
Well,
about
80s
how
isn't that, like-
shocked people are at the thing. Like when they see it, it's almost like they get hit by like a concussion grenade from Black Ops 2. Like they're stunned and disoriented and like
Whoa!
can't fight back at all.
They all just stand in the
Heinrich
room.
was blind. He was like,
Here, and then they just get killed by some 90-pound like
None of them like
malnourished
leave the
woman.
room or run away. Like
she
what
also
do they do?
stabbed
Heinrich
Heinrich.
ran away.
Heinrich got
Heinrich
stabbed,
ran-
and then she let him run away. Like, she was just like, what the fuck? That's what I mean by like, and then he just went to a bar. He didn't go to the hospital.
Yeah,
he just
he
went to the
kind
bar.
of like
Goes
fucks
to a
around.
random corner on the street.
Which is funny because
finds
the
a bar.
No, I will say they set up that telephone booth earlier in like a really cool shot, and then he just ran to it. It's super unnecessary, which is once again like you set up a telephone booth, but you don't, but nothing else. Like you didn't even set up the
He
bar.
had to call the. Okay, out of all the people
You could have not set up
called, why would he
called
call the husband of the person that he cheated with? Like, why would you call that person?
I do
Does he
know
not have any
at that
friends?
point.
The person least likely to help.
Like,
I
why would
guess
you
like
help?
from his perspective,
Why would you
like,
call that?
he
Call the police.
because like from his perspective, he was like a sort of like a new age tantric kind of Zen guy, and he was like, "Oh, we
It was just
we
to
both
push the
we
plot
both
forward.
love Anna, you know, we both love her, and
Yeah,
like
we both want to do good for her.
we both want to try and save her." Yeah.
Okay, still, okay,
I
still
guess.
you see the
police would
disturbing
also want to
demon
save
monster.
her. Like, what?
You see the disturbing demon. All right, Chris, like let's not fucking hype up the police here. They would definitely just shoot her ass if they wanted.
Germany
Did
police.
shoot her
They
ass.
were spying on.
Oh, yeah, they
were
did.
spying on him the whole time.
That's
They
actually
fucking killed the
that's
shit out
actually,
of those two people.
that was actually something else about the movie was the like Russian guy or not Russian German guys like spying on them like important to the plot was like that's supposed to be like they knew what was going on, especially the German guy just showing up like I said 7/8 of the way through the movie he just pops in and, out of frame, like he just walks in from out of frame and is like, how about that dead dog? You could be that dead dog, or are you that dead dog? And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then he shows up at the end again is like, looks like you're that dead dog. Why?
I'm gonna look this up after the fact. If this movie is just like about the Cold War, I'm
well,
gonna be so
okay,
pissed.
There
I
probably is a
did
lot
do
of social
I
shit
did
to
do a little bit of reading about because like again like what I was saying about like my interpretation of like the thematic elements of it, like, you know, that was my just trying to like piece together, but I didn't quite fully get like the socio political aspect of it, and so I read up a little bit, and like obviously, you know, this movie takes place like during the Soviet era.
Yeah.
But also, the director is Polish. He's a Polish director, and
Not a big German fan.
a thing that like he got across like after the fact was that like he had to leave Poland because I think that was also under Soviet occupation, if I'm correct.
Probably would make sense given their
Yeah.
location.
Yeah.
Would that be true? Because it would have been east of Germany, right?
Yeah,
Wait, is
towards
Poland
Russia.
east?
Yeah. No, it's west. It's west.
Yeah,
'Cause it was
I meant to
between
say
them and
west. I
France.
said east
Yeah.
instead of west.
It was between them and France. Now that you mentioned that, so
Yeah,
but
that's what I thought.
Wait, what?
Bro, what? Poland is east of Germany. What are you
Yeah,
guys talking
Poland's
about?
east of Germany.
Isn't
All right,
France
right? Okay.
west? Isn't France west of Germany?
France is
west.
west.
talking
Yeah,
about
France is
Poland.
west. Talking about
We're talking
Poland.
about Poland.
Isn't Poland between France and Germany?
No.
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 Yeah, I got
I
it mixed
think
up
they're
in my head.
right.
Is it
France
between
and Germany
Russia
border.
It's to the east.
France and Germany border. Yeah.
Oh, I had it
yeah.
mixed up then in my head. I
Germany.
don't know
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
side.
Poland's between Germany and Russia. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And
I had it
so-
mixed up. My fault.
So
Yeah.
he, and I think like because of like the Soviet occupation, it like hindered his abilities to like actually be able to make movies. You know, like that was his passion, and like, you know, due to like all kinds of different censorship and like just the general like authoritarian nature of that regime, he couldn't do it. So he left and ended up going to Germany, but then, you know, comes back around and the Iron Curtain falls right in the middle of Berlin. And so kind of stemming to like, you know, the idea in this movie about like a broken marriage and the idea of what you used to have, he kind of expressed this desire of what he used to have in Poland, but can't really go back to anymore because he can't, if he goes back to Poland, can't make movies anymore. And now to see this division, even where he is in Berlin, went on to like kind of further that point about like not being able to go back to what you used to have. And again, this is like something that I read. This is not my, so I just thought that was.
That makes sense.
That's
I thought that
insane.
was
that was
interesting.
the point.
I mean,
That's-
I thought-
and I
that
don't-
makes sense
I
that
don't
the
know-
movie is about
I-
a divorce.
I
But
thought this movie was about
Yeah.
East and West Berlin.
I don't
and
think
it makes
that's.
sense.
I don't
that,
think
like,
you could really
maybe-
insinuate that fully from the movie. You know, like again, I think this is after the fact him talking about it. So that
Get
doesn't.
it? No, I don't think that's unfair to bring up though.
It's
Like
not
that's
unfair.
context of the movie. So
Yeah.
I
Oh,
think
yeah.
that's a completely good
Well,
point.
you also have to take
it's
into
important
account
to know
like,
the intentions of the director or whoever made
Yeah.
it.
you do have to take into account the death of the author a little bit. Viewer experience kind of supersedes director intention.
Like I said, it's what you get out of it is more important than what they
Yes.
put into it. I mean, what you
Yeah.
put into it is important. Don't get me wrong.
Absolutely, there's a balance to be had. Obviously.
Yeah.
Poland really got a raw deal in the 20th century, didn't they? They
Oh,
went straight
yeah.
from Nazi Germany and then straight
The
into
Soviet
Soviet
Russia.
Union.
The Iron
Man,
Curtain
what
falling on
a
Poland.
shitty deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I mixed up where they were. That was my
A
bad.
lot of people don't know in the beginning of World War II, they got invaded by Russia and Germany at the same time. So,
Oh, really?
Yeah, the non-aggression pact.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess that's why the Germans went through Poland, right? Not Poland, Poland, right?
Poland.
No, they were going to go through Poland anyway, but they signed a non-aggression pact with the Soviet Union saying that, hey, we won't mess with you.
If you help us.
You guys can have.
Yeah, Germany was known for keeping.
You can have Eastern Poland, and we'll take Western Poland. But then, of course, they broke that eventually.
Yeah,
They did
that's
that
kind of
at
been
every turn they could.
strategy where you just like
Just lie.
It takes you're like, trust me, bro, trust me on this, and then just do the opposite.
I'm not going to commit a war crime. Come on.
I did want to say, like, as I was watching the movie, I was trying really hard to focus on what they were saying because I thought it was going to be important and there was going to be like hints as to what was coming. And I felt like the dialogue was just kind of overly heady and it felt like a chore to kind of try and piece it together. And in the end, it kind of, a lot of it just seemed like gibberish. Like it was just philosophical.
Talking out of their ass.
Like kind of like
Yeah.
like waxing poetic, sort of.
Yeah, like
Well,
fake
even
beat,
just that, there's also like the accents to it, and then I would say the audio was kind of bad, especially in the beginning. They talk so quietly, like I couldn't even tell what they were saying at first.
That's
I just
right.
had to read the
There
subtitles.
was some really cool like on a just like technical level when it came to like the actual filmmaking, because like whenever Mark and like the PI are like talking, there's like the way that's shot is like them like walking out of frame, and it's like as they're walking away their voices get like fainter and fainter, but then when it cuts next to like them closer into frame, their voices get like loud again. I thought that was like really
Yeah, but
well
when they were
constructed.
laying in bed, it was so quiet you couldn't even understand what they were saying. It was so quiet. I remember that specifically at the bidding. I was like, "What the fuck are they even talking about?" I had to just read the subtitle. And that happened a couple times throughout the movie, especially when what's his name was dancing
professional hater
around.
Nate.
Watch the movie back. Like, tell me you were just listening. Like, oh yeah, I hear that. Like, they were just whispering to each other for no reason. Like, at some point, you have to remember you're watching a movie. Like, I want to hear what the fuck they're saying.
Yeah, subtitles were very helpful.
As I say,
Very,
I
very
typically
helpful.
do
Yeah.
watch like everything with subtitles.
I do too, but normally I don't have to sit there and read the subtitles and know what they're talking about. And I get, and a little, like I was gonna say, a little bit. That's the like they're clearly like German and shit. Like they have accents and stuff. Like or they're talking not from like not how we talk, and sometimes it's weird as shit, and you don't know what they were talking about exactly.
You know, Cole, with the what you were saying about the dialogue being sort of like overly philosophical, kind of stepping back to what I had said, I didn't really get the like miscarriage scene where she's just freaking out. What did
I don't
she
understand
was
it at all.
she was talking
Don't
about?
understand what happened.
What did that come after, and what did that come before? Like that's the thing too. I don't even remember because it was so random.
Her and Mark were at the apartment talking as
That was after, right?
As happens many times.
But before that, it was so random.
Well, they were
It didn't-
specifically talking about like
It was hope,
the,
right?
the death of like faith and
Well, that's the thing. Hope, faith, and chance come
Yeah,
up a lot, and I'm
faith
sure
and
there's some
chance.
interesting look at it.
I
but
was
there
gonna
was-
say, like, what did you guys think that really meant? Because I didn't quite know.
Well, see, maybe with the social aspect of it, but just looking at the movie objectively once again, because like we don't have a lot of the social perspective that the movie has. Like it seems like gibberish, and that it falls short on the actual plot of the movie because like they're talking about that, and then like, but your whole time you're like, what? Like, where was the faith? Where was the chance? He's like, I'm saving
Yeah.
chance. This is God. Like, who was God? I'm bringing God. Like, God was you, but like, what the
'Cause,
fuck? Like, chance. Like,
Mark makes reference
what?
to like he says like oh,
I
to
don't
me
know.
God is a disease, because like
Yeah.
Heinrich, even though he is like very kind of like like out there, he is like but appears to be like a religious man. So
yeah, because he talks about God.
Nah, he's the I'm spiritual but not religious.
yeah,
He definitely is that type of guy.
Because Mark kind of gives it back to him at the end of the movie, where he's kind of like knows that he's gonna kill him.
Also, when he killed him was so shit. He's just like, Mark, I need you, or not Mark. He's like Heinrich, I need you.
It was so...
and then it's just like bink, dead.
It was so like overly
juxtaposed to like how he was like limp wristed slapping her. That hit looked so hard. Oh, yeah. He looked like he legitimately hit him with a porcelain like thing.
But the sound effect was just bink, bink.
Dude, that was like a very like well done stunt in my opinion. Like that was like. I was like, Jesus, fuck, man. I was expecting it to be like a you could tell he missed.
You know, it's funny too, because like he set up this like elaborate thing of making it look like he like OD'd and like drowned in the toilet. Yeah. But it's like everybody in this world is just like so like apathetic towards all the crazy stuff that happens. He probably could have just like killed him right there and just left. Like,
yeah. They don't really give a shit. Like when it was flipping out in the restaurant in the beginning, no one reacted till he was like attacking her in the room.
Yeah.
I will say that was the coolest scene when they were standing, like sitting against the mirror, both of them, and then you could see the reflection of that girl. I thought that was going to be important. Like I thought this was going to be like a real psychological movie. And then I thought that for like the first 30 minutes, I was like, "Oh, this movie's just insane." Like, if you stop thinking about the psychological aspect, it's just a fucking insane movie. And like, you see that girl sitting across from them in the mirror, and then you see her again on the other side. I was like, "Wow, I feel like that's going to be important." So it wasn't. Might have just been the same fucking extra. I don't know. Like, it was, I don't know what the fuck the point was. Like, I
really liked that scene. I liked how like at the very beginning she was like kind of cold to him and answered him very matter of fact and like didn't really care. Then that's just how everybody talked throughout the entire movie. So
don't forget, he also said, "I don't want to be in the kid's life," and then he was the only one in the kid's life the rest of the movie.
Next scene, just immediately.
She just neglected him for 3 weeks and just was off.
After he was like, "You're gonna neglect him," and then also like, was that a hallucination? Was any of that real?
Did that kid survive on his own, like on just jam for 3 weeks?
Yeah. What was that real? Because it just cut. Like, so you don't know if it was real. That was the thing. I thought this was like a psychology movie where this dude was just going insane, and maybe it was because that's what it feels like. But I don't fucking know.
If you do look at it a bit matter of factly, like obviously, like this.
I mean,
like,
you have to. You are watching a movie. You are watching these things happen in order, and like
alongside like extreme like manipulation and all that. Mark is like definitely like mentally ill. Like,
yeah, dude, everybody in here is mentally ill.
That's the thing. There's no difference in filmmaking between like the past and the present, or what else is going on. So the only difference you see is the set and their costumes. So you don't really know the time placement of when it happens unless you look at the environment, but the environment doesn't really set you up to know because it will just randomly be shitty and then sometimes it'll be nice. And I feel like you're not supposed to be aware of what's happening, but I don't feel like that ever comes back to be important to the story. Well, and sometimes Mark looks like shit and sometimes he's clean cut and it doesn't have any time relevance to the story. Like, it's so weird.
Do you think part of that is because they're both such unreliable narrators? And do you think maybe they were trying to give us their perspective? And that's why it's so, like, all over the place?
I think that's reading too much into it because it doesn't imply that throughout the movie. Like, because you're only really getting Mark's perspective, honestly, throughout the movie for most of it. And
I disagree. I think
there's the scenes where she's killing people.
There's like 30 minutes, like 20, 30 minutes without Mark. Even
you start to see a lot more.
It's just the killing scenes. It's just the killing scenes that you don't have Mark's perspective.
No, there are parts where she's like out, like on her own.
When in the PI, when the PI is chasing her down.
Yeah,
that's it. That's a killing scene. What are you talking about? That's a killing scene. That whole scene is leading to a kill. So that's a kill. That's a scene that goes to a kill.
Plus, there's also like, I mean, like when she's had been recorded by Heinrich and like Mark's watching it back. Like, there's a lot of
that was Heinrich. Like, how the fuck did you know that? Like, I was so confused what's going on during that scene. I thought that was Mark. I thought Mark was just recording her be fucking crazy. No,
that
was this make any sense?
No, because that was when he was away and like Heinrich had been like filming her.
Did you know that? Did they say that?
She mentioned it.
They said that. Yeah.
What the fuck? Like, how are you even like? Did they say it just in the thing?
Yeah.
When?
It just gave up at a certain point.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you don't know. There's no like awareness of what's happening in the scene.
I think that's where we differ. Like, I I don't know what the fuck is happening, but this is fucking disturbing.
I don't
and
think
so
it's
I'm
in a
going to
good
enjoy this
way.
movie.
I don't think it works out in a good way because it's like it just takes you out of the movie.
If I
don't
wasn't
think it
watching like a horror movie, if I was watching like something else, something that wasn't supposed to scare me,
Like, it doesn't
I
scare
wouldn't enjoy
you.
this.
Like, did it scare you when she was like, lift your leg up, hold your stomach in, lift your leg up, hold your stomach in? I was like, all right, this is getting annoying. That's the only emotion I felt. Like, I wasn't like, oh my god.
I could
what
see
is she
myself
gonna do?
having a fucking nightmare.
Or when he was like
movie.
flicking, or when he was
And I
on
can
the
see
phone.
the average person having a nightmare.
Yeah,
over this
only
movie.
during the parts where you saw the grotesque being.
No. I
And he was
firmly
when he was
disagree.
sitting there
Just the
flicking the
movie
light
itself
on the phone,
vibes
he's
of
like,
the movie.
no, yeah, she is. There's no way you know that. Like, I don't care. Like, fucking just skip the scene or take the whole grandma thing out because it didn't end up mattering anyway. It wasn't scary. It wasn't disturbing. She ended up killing herself.
I think
Like,
that's one of the
what the fuck?
worst scenes of this movie were when they actually showed the grotesque being that she was like having sex with or whatever. Like I
feel
thought
like that
those
was
were,
the
like,
only
the worst
horrific
That was like
scenes
that was
in
the
the
No, I
most
disagree.
disturbing. That was the most disturbing one, I thought.
I
Those are the only
disagree. I
actually
don't think
disturbing scenes.
those are kind of goofy and dumb.
Like, are you kidding me? Oh,
I enjoyed the general,
slamming
like-
herself against the wall for 10 minutes, going. There was
Yeah,
so many scenes where she was just going. But see, Chris, like I know, like this is a movie, and I'm just watching an actor do that, and it feels like I'm watching a movie. It doesn't feel like I'm watching a story play out. That scene feels so random. No, fuck you. We're talking about this because that scene felt so out of nowhere, and it's just her going. And then out of nowhere, she's like, I had a miscarriage. Like, what the fuck is the point? Like, there's no story or context to it. Like, it's bad.
I think what Chris
That's why I don't
kind of
like
saying,
this movie.
I think what Chris is kind of saying
If
is
you just film
if
someone
you-
taking a shit and screaming, like, you'd be like, yeah, that's disturbing.
Yeah,
And
but
if
if
your goal
you
was
if
to
you
be
just take
disturbing,
this
you'd
movie,
be like, that's disturbing.
if you take this movie and just kind of like shut your brain off and just kind of try to enjoy it and just take in what's happening, I think there is things to enjoy about it. Like you can like he was saying, you can feel really uncomfortable and really uneasy. They do a good job of like it's
I feel like there's
exhibiting
movies that do it
emotions
better.
out of you.
I feel like there's movies that do it way better.
I mean,
I don't
yeah.
feel
with the
rewarded
congruent
for
story.
paying
That's the thing. I
attention
don't
to any
feel
part
like-
of the plot of this movie.
I don't feel
They
like
just
you're
made it
comparing
super
this to other movies. Like, you're just thinking about this movie. Like, this, like, as a
Yes.
movie, this movie fails. Like, it fails in a lot of ways. Like, the story is not congruent. It's disturbing if you're just like, yeah, this is just disturbing. Like, I'm just looking at it, or someone.
Isn't that what you go into a horror movie to?
But there's
feel?
let's
So
talk
you
about
wanna
the thing, which
feel
is a
that.
movie that came off of this later. That movie is disturbing, but there is story elements and character-driven
What movie?
moments that make it disturbing. Like The Thing. You ever
Oh.
watched The Thing, or have you
No,
ever
I
watched
haven't seen that.
Hellraiser? Like, there's
It's probably the
there's
best horror
moments.
movie ever made.
I would agree that it's one of the best horror movies ever made. There's moments that are disturbing, that are character-driven and plot-driven, and even cinematography wise, like, and I think you just haven't watched enough to be like, yeah, this movie isn't as good as those movies. Like, compared.
Oh, sure. I give it a 7. I didn't give it a 10. I was on like,
It's
that's the
that's
greatest
my
movie
argument.
to
Is it
ever
Chris,
does
exist.
not deserve
he's
a
trying to
seven.
he's trying to diminish your experience with the movie.
I am
that
because I
this
feel like
movie
this is
was-
completely like he's being too lenient.
If you've seen
Like,
other
he's being
movies that
far
are
too lenient.
disturbing, then this movie isn't disturbing to you.
Well, see that
I don't know.
That's what I wanted to.
I think it's good.
This and like I'm
I
just trying
enjoyed
to like.
I would
kinda
watch
build
this
off
movie
of
again.
that.
I think you're babying the movie is like the best way to explain it. Like, you have to expect more. Like, and it didn't reach expectations. Like, it definitely didn't.
So wait,
People
Nate.
can have different opinions.
So I'm wondering then, like,
And I'm allowed to argue mine. Like, I hate that. Like, oh, he has a different. I'm arguing mine, motherfucker. Like,
well, I'm just wondering, like, so because I also like I said, I overall liked this movie, but like again, like didn't like love it.
and I don't really honestly, John, I haven't had nearly as much of a problem with your opinions as I've had with Chris's. Like,
What if I said that? Like,
he's like, oh, it was just
strongly disagree with
disturbing,
it?
and that
Chris
makes
is just
the
a
movie
bit-
good.
Well, I have
Facetious.
I have
I think the emotion that you experience after watching a movie, that gut reaction that
And I
you
would
have,
agree that's
is
important, but there's
everything
more
that
than
matters.
just that. No, it's
Nothing
not
else
everything.
matters
Well, not
other
everything.
than your gut reaction to
not
the
everything.
movie.
what I'm trying to
It's
say
not
is going to
everything.
relate to both of you. So, Nate, with you were saying like, you know, it kind of like seems that you maybe want a bit more not matter of fact, but like straightforward kind of.
I would say
progression
there
of the
should have been
story.
more, at least a through line to ground you in some way throughout the movie, and
Yeah.
and It seems like they tried and failed. That's my point, is they failed in the objectives that they went for. And that's my problem with the movie. There's clear objectives that they tried to make and failed at it. And that is important when you're watching a movie, like, because there's more than just, I was disturbed. Okay, and I would agree, like, and if you gave it like a 5 or a 6, I'd be like, yeah, like you thought it was disturbing, you tried to be disturbing. But like a 7, like that's at least like I thought the movie was like it was good.
So do you have a movie like that where
I thought it was a good
it
movie.
is very
I would watch it again.
It's very like, not straightforward, very like cryptic and, esoteric, and has a lot of like
we compared it to
things
Annihilation. I gave Annihilation, I think, a 7, and I would put that at, like, that's like a movie where I definitely felt like it had flaws, but I felt like it reached its goals at least throughout the time I was watching it. And like I said, the story never fully catched me.
Possession 100% like achieved its goals.
Okay,
like this is the director's. Like I saw when I looked it up. This is whoever directed it. This is their favorite film they ever made. Like they
and I'm sure it was very fun to
achieve
make.
this level of just straight up disturbing and creepy and weird.
Yeah, well, guess what? I don't really
achieve that.
This is something, that opinion I put out a lot. Is like, I don't really give a fuck at the end of the day what the creator said at the end. I mean, it factors in a little bit in context, but it doesn't really matter if the majority of people do not feel that context. Or get that. Like, and it's disturbing. Yes, and I agree, it's disturbing at certain parts, but throughout most of the movie, I'm just like, it's less disturbing and more confusing, and I get confusing can be disturbing, but I do think the two are different. Like, just confusing people doesn't pay off.
I think so. You think a movie can't be confusing?
No,
like a movie can never be good.
That is not what he's saying. That's not what he's saying.
Okay. Sorry.
I feel like
let me rephrase.
A movie. Like, so I'll compare it to, like I said, I think the best version of this is like The Thing. And there is like points that you don't really know what happened, but the objective is like you don't know what happened, and that's what's disturbing about it.
I think this movie achieved that.
I will say though, that's a matter of, because The Thing is more of a mystery kind of, it's a suspenseful movie.
There's mystery in this, because like you don't know what the answer was in the end. There's so many mysterious things that go on.
This movie has a lot more kind of like surreal aspects to it, whereas like The Thing is just more of like a straightforward mystery. And kind of backing off what I was like, where I had led this discussion, Chris, I think a movie that you would enjoy, given what you've kind of described about what you like about this movie, like, the sort of just overall just disturbs you, like that's what it's trying to do. It makes you feel uneasy. And a movie that I think succeeds a lot better at this, and I might recommend it one day, who knows, is it's a little bit, I think it's from a few years earlier, Eraserhead is what it's called. You might have heard of it at some point. Eraserhead.
I've heard of it. I've never got around to watching that though.
It's actually like, I saw it before I saw this movie, and I was surprised like how kind of like reminded I was a little bit of it, because it has, well, I won't say, and I think I will recommend it one day, because I'd like to see, given...
That's a movie I've heard of a lot more than this. Like, just to like say,
yeah, it's definitely more popular.
It's definitely more popular, I would say.
I was just going to say, we're kind of shitting on Chris a lot for his 7, but this movie, like, from the little research I've done, seems to be pretty well liked. A lot more than what we're giving it.
This movie's very abstract,
really care about other
and
people's opinions.
That's fine. It's just like horror isn't a genre for me to where I'm interested to do more of a deeper dive and look at the themes and watch this movie over and over again.
I think that's
really
it's a
what
very,
I love about
very
horror.
not,
That's exactly what I love about horror. Is that
it's just not for me. It's just too cryptic, and I wasn't entertained enough, like the first watch through, to really try to go in and rewatch it and re-examine it. It's just not.
I feel like when I watch a horror movie, I'm not in it for the experience itself. I'm in it for the, what is going on around the movie.
I'm down for you
just too abstract.
I think a good horror movie is 5/5. If it scares you, and it is,
that's a fair point.
And it is.
I'm not saying that's a bad thing,
but I just feel like there's so much else in this movie to consider besides that. Like, if you're just like, wow, I was disturbed by some things, like, I just can't see you liking it that much off of just very specific things in the movie. Like, I just don't get it.
Yeah, I guess we do seem to be sort of at like kind of an impasse with this, because like, it's a matter of like, yeah, a movie can be very abstract and have, cryptic things within it, but as you guys like, as it seems from like Nate and Sam, there has to be more of a through line, or there has to be enough tangible about it that you can understand without having to like, write a thesis about it, But then also
I mean, well, that's my point. Is at the end of the day, it's a story, and
Yeah.
I feel like the story is like you could just talk out of your ass and get something out of it. Like you could just say disturbing things, and it'll be disturbing. And I don't like that though. Like that's the whole point of a story at the end of the day. For me,
I think a good horror movie can be great without a coherent story, and I think that's why
that's this movie then.
That's Chris's camp.
Yeah, and this movie isn't even like great to me. Like that's the thing. I don't even like love this movie. It's a good movie, but like I don't love it. Like it's
I mean, well, look, we are talking to the guy that
going to bat for
was like, look at this fucking dead animal in this video one time, and it's like we have very different opinions on entertainment. I'm like, why would he send me that? Like, I shouldn't say that like Chris just sent me a fucking someone murdering an animal, but it was like
he didn't put that in the general.
I was gonna say
it was with all of us.
If he only sent that to you, I think that's concerning.
Yeah, something about the animal reminded me of you.
Definitely with
I don't even know what you're talking about.
You have definitely
this
done
photo
that
I took right now.
And I remember it because I was like,
look outside your window.
Why the fuck did Chris send this? Because I there was definitely more than just me in there, because we were like, why did Chris send this? And I feel like it was that same thing where it was like, just that was the point of it. It was to be weird, and it was like, I don't care. Like fuck that. Like, don't fucking send me that.
Yeah, I guess.
Never send Nate a picture again, Chris.
Yeah, never do. I mean, just look at the videos that Chris sends normally in our shit. Like, it's just off the wall crazy shit. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, I don't care about that. That's an interesting point,
because I think I'm also partially in agreement with Chris. Is when I also do really like whenever something is just like so unapologetically just weird and disturbing, but. And I part of me does like when I just, I want to try and understand. I want to, like, a bit of the fun is trying to like understand like where does this even come from? But, that can very much be to whatever, movie, YouTube video, game or whatever, that can be to its detriment, where like, okay, is this just being weird for the sake of weird? And then if that's the case, like, what am I supposed to feel about this beyond just, the immediate discomfort,
Yeah, it's tough for that type of art to be represented in a movie for me. Like, I don't think that's the proper medium that I would like to enjoy it in. Because I can enjoy that in like looking at a painting, or like maybe even like reading like a poem or something like that. But when it's a movie, I try to tie themes to characters and themes to plot points and themes to like motivations. The movie doesn't really have tangible or linear or easy to follow like a structure or a through line you can kind of tie everything back to. It's just a bit like that's, I guess, just not how I'm wired. I can see that in a painting, because the context of a painting is just like a single frame. You kind of are already expected to kind of recreate like your emotions based off of one thing, and it's kind of already out of context. But in a movie, like, I'm so used to there being like a structure and everything laid down.
What, Chris?
I view like movies the same way as I would view a painting. Like there are paintings with structure and reason and like conclusions that you can make, and like you can determine what the artist is trying to say. But
movies are a bit more
the same
like,
thing with movies. Like you can
there's a bit more structure to it, and there's a lot more of like the given part of the equation.
I'm down for abstract, but there's a difference between abstract and just random images placed in an order that like I don't enjoy. Like that's the difference between storytelling and just I don't know like a word for it. Like that's why I'm saying like it's not a good story. Like the story just doesn't, I don't care for it. And I mean like there is like ideas in it that are kind of interesting. I mean, it is a story. There is a story that plays out. It just doesn't play out in a good way.
Yeah,
or like an interesting,
that's why it's weird to
like,
interpret. that's where I kind of draw the distinction between like a painting and a movie. I get that they're both forms of art, but it's harder for me to tie it to anything.
I dislike when it's like it's just you trying to find something out of it, and I like that to an extent. But when it's literally all you creating the art, I don't like. I don't see the point in that. Like that's like I don't. I mean, like there is good in that, but like this movie just doesn't. There's not enough themes that like I said, like I wanted to say, like there's just this divorce and them not wanting to be with each other anymore. Like I don't think those themes in itself, the abstract theme of that, I care about it enough to want to like that. I think this is so interesting that the abstractness of it, I like it. Like it's such like just fucking stop talking to her, dude. Just break up with her. Like that's the end of it. Like move on.
But
be
that's
better.
Relationships is that you can't just move on. You have to
But you could you could also
like you
could.
Oh, for sure you could. But like that's not what happens.
But not everybody does. Yeah.
That makes me not like the characters and be like, this is like a bad example.
I hated both of them. I hated both of them.
The movie doesn't lay something down and then abstract it. It kind of just is abstract, and that's not a good or a bad thing. It's just how I saw the movie.
Yeah.
I think I also, like I said, what I was trying to say though, is I think if it was something that I cared more about or was more interesting to me, maybe I would have liked it better. If I want to be very fair on my own opinion, is like, and I just. The abstractness, what it was being super abstract about, I just wasn't interested in. Like, it's just like because then they're just both shitty people, and like I don't like it, I don't think it sends any positive message in the end, or even a negative message. It's just like these people are shitty, and here's shit. Like, and I don't like that.
Okay, but isn't that how a lot of like relationships where you have a kid? Isn't that how it works out? Where like both people, both parents are in the wrong. And the kid,
I hope not.
Stuck.
They're just stuck in this
experience.
That's where I think you, as an audience person, have to ask.
Parents have to deal with.
Do you think this was a good message? Like at the end of the day, do you think the message that this movie
does the movie have to have a message?
Yes, it does. I mean, it has a message. It was created with an idea, even abstractly. There was the creator had an idea and some kind of message he was sending, intentionally or not. Even like, let's just talk directly. Like, what happens in the movie? There's definitely, in my opinion, some negative messaging being sent out throughout this movie. Like, I don't think it has very.
Can it not just convey the emotions of a shitty divorce? And what that means on the people around them, including their kid.
No, because if it fails to do, like, if it fails to show
a piece of art, can never do
in
that.
The movie, and in the movie, no, but see, this is the thing. In the movie, it says there really isn't good and bad, but like at the end of the day, they're both bad. Like,
yeah, they are both bad. Yeah, I agree.
But that's what I'm saying. Is it's wrong. Even what the movie says within it is wrong. Like, those are both shitty people, and I do think. Like, and that's why I'm saying at the end, and at the does he? Like, he's just kind of like a background character that drowns himself in the end.
Bob's kind of a quitter in the end, honestly.
Yeah, literally.
Come on, Bob. You gotta stick it out.
We didn't even mention the two police officers.
Exactly.
Like, one guy crashes into the police car, and their first reaction is just to get out and shoot the guy.
And it also just starts exploding, and then shit just like pow, pow, pow. Like, where was the symbolism in that, Chris? Like, what the fuck?
The taxi driver was so down to like just ram into the police car. That
was another character that just shows up and then is just in the movie after that.
Yeah.
It's like ram into that car.
He was,
all right, dude.
He was waiting to ram into those like police cars. He was just waiting for an excuse.
Besides the abstract stuff, like if you look like what happens in the movie, like it's just like what the fuck?
Yeah,
like
there's no coherent story.
I think we're just at an impasse.
Yeah,
it's just gonna have to be.
I don't think we're disagreeing with anything. Like, I don't know. It's just perfect.
You would say that, Chris.
Yeah, Chris would say that.
Yeah,
I just think Chris,
I'm down the rap.
Chris needs to watch some better movies. Is where I'm at.
Hey, suggest something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if I ever get fucking,
I guess we're gonna find out.
When the wheel spin, I'll pick something good.
I think it's time we find out.
I'm just saying, has Cole missed yet?
Well, people didn't really like Annihilation.
I didn't.
Annihilation got a 7. Like, I liked Annihilation. I just shit on it a lot.
Chris, get the win.
I think this was a fun movie to pick. I like this.
Fun is the.
I think it was good for this. Yeah. Like I said, I think it was good for this. I think in any other context, I wouldn't.
I am glad I got to talk about it with you.
This will be a movie like when we're like 10 years from now, people will be like, you know, it's the craziest movie I've seen, or like this is a crazy part in this movie. I'm gonna bring this up.
I feel like I'll forget about
this locked and loaded.
I feel like I'll forget about this.
I will
movie
say
in a
this
couple
this
years.
is not
Absolutely.
the craziest one I've seen. So
I don't feel like I'll remember this movie in a couple years.
Let's spin the wheel. It's time for spinning.
It'll be immortalized on
this
YouTube.
next
week
picture. What's the picture?
Spinning the wheel. We
Oh
don't
my
have
God.
Bob.
What is-
We have Cole.
Is it
Bucky,
hippo?
Get that
Nate,
fucking hippo off
and
there,
Sam.
dude. Bro,
Those are the people we have in this week's wheel. Who is coming up?
It's
in
just
this
building
week's
suspense.
wheel?
I like it.
Let me close my stuff.
Oh my God.
Oh my lord!
It's Nate's turn to pick a good horror movie.
I have I'm not even picking a horror movie. I have a very
Let's
contrasting
go.
movie. I think Cole's gonna enjoy this. I'm gonna just do The Nice Guys because I want to do something very different.
Oh
from what we did
shit!
this
All
week.
right, sweet.
And it's a movie I'm a big fan of. It's not something that I've seen it. I don't think anyone else has, right?
I
No.
just watched it like a week ago.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, what the fuck, Cole? I told you I
I'll
was
run
gonna
it back.
pick it. Okay,
I'll run it
fine.
back.
I wanted it to
Watch
be
it
your
again.
first reaction. It's super
I
fun.
can't believe
You
Cole
watched
watched a movie not 2 hours before this.
it? Yeah, I know. Cole watched a movie before we watched it.
No, I'm excited to talk about
He
it.
watched it in 7-second segments. Chris, have you watched it?
I've not seen.
Okay, I thought you said you did there. That's why I was
I've also
wondering.
not seen
Yeah.
this. So
It's a comedy, just so you guys know. So
Sam?
it's very
I've
different.
not seen it. Russell Crowe and literally
Ryan
me. Right?
Gosling,
And
yeah,
me.
literally
Yeah.
me.
Yeah,
He's
I'm
in
in it.
My favorite actor. Yeah, I mean Cole's in it. Yeah, all right. This was a
Alright.
fun conversation,
All
though,
right,
guys. I
yeah.
want to
Yeah.
specify that. Like, I might have seemed like I was very mad, but I really had fun talking
let
about
us
it.
know who's right in the comments.
Me.